Hey, Rick.
Hey, Stephanie.
Reminds me, yeah, of your email. I'll get back to you. Just a little overwhelmed because Carrie took a different position, so it's just me.
Oh, it's just you. Okay. Um, well, I don't know if we want to talk about it in this place or not. Um,
Probably not. It's
I
live.
certainly don't want to put a lot more work on your desk, but I think it would be nice if we could update it somehow. And um, I've spoken to the person who's editing right now, and she's fine with just keeping the history and then adding, a footnote and a link to the
That's
to the
right.
uniform rules.
Yeah, I'll take a look again today. That sounds great to me because
Okay.
everything really,
I
the
just
rules.
don't want to, I want to finalize that because I don't feel like I can authorize it
Sure. Yeah.
myself. So,
Yeah. Hey, Cheryl. I
Hi everybody. How's it going?
uh
That,
um
that good, huh?
right. It's a lot. It's a lot. But
It's always that.
yeah, I'm not going to be able to replace Carrie for the foreseeable future. So I'm trying to figure out how to streamline and keep my sanity.
I bet. I bet.
But some people get to retire, so they have no.
I know. I was gonna say you need to join me.
Well, I'm going to call you and get some advice. Although I think I need to stay put for a little while financially. But anyway, I'm swimming in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. Once,
And when
once
is
the
your
idea. Well,
when's, when's your last week?
um, June 30th, right after the judges conference. So is that I'll be here through the last judges conference, and then that'll be the end of it's kind of it's the end of our fiscal year. The university does July 1st to June 30th. So
Yeah.
it's a Tuesday. But yeah, mostly I'm excited.
Yeah.
I get kind of
Cheryl, I
nervous.
know they can't replace you, but have they found anyone to take your
Oh,
position?
we,
No.
we're working on that, and I've been totally shocked that people aren't lined up down the street begging for
Yeah.
help. I don't understand. We've got a couple of people who look pretty strong who are coming in for some interviews, but we really didn't have much of an expression of interest, which was
Wow.
I don't know why people don't want my job. It hurt my feelings. We advertised for a research attorney to work in our library to help people, and we got like 40 applications.
Huh. Well, I've encouraged somebody to apply, but she's like, nobody can take Cheryl's place.
Oh
So
gosh, yeah. Well, I think you all will figure out pretty quickly how untrue that is.
I
So,
don't know. And
yeah.
and she wants to and she goes, I'm not looking to work more.
Oh yeah. Now that is, yeah, you have to be careful about that.
Yeah.
It's very different, but we have people who interview with us from private practice thinking that it will be less, and nothing's as bad as private practice, right? But this is not, this is definitely a full-time job. No
Yeah.
question about that.
I've interviewed people for the mediation positions around the state who also feel like, well, I've been doing so much in this work. Now I'm really looking to just kind of coast.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen here.
No. If I could coast a little bit, I might not be retiring, but I just haven't figured out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't let up. Somebody asked me if there's kind of seasons here, like, does it come and go in waves? I'm like, yeah, it does, but they're very unpredictable.
My waves are like morning and afternoon, I think. It's not just particular times. Every time I think I'm going to have a time where things aren't as hectic, it just never works out.
Yeah,
So let's say, well, there's no conference or no class or no book
yeah,
chapter due or something, and there's something else that comes up. So
yeah,
it's always something, which is what keeps it exciting.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm gonna call and ask you some retirement advice.
Yeah, I'll
Same.
I'll let y'all know.
Yeah. everybody around me is there, and I'm like, I'm getting closer, and this right now is really making it. I would do it tomorrow if I could.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
It's just not sustainable, but we'll see, especially with the post-adopt context stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, are we going to have Judge Korpanik today?
Let me just shoot him an email and see if, yeah, as far as I know, because when we sent him the minutes and everything.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out if this is my last meeting. I think it might be. When is the next meeting? Is it?
Hold on, I'll check.
I know it's on this schedule. I could look myself, I guess.
I don't even know if we set one, but I will.
I was thinking it's August.
Is it August?
I don't know. Can
Or
we do it
maybe-
quarterly, right?
I have July 31st.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that on my calendar, but that would be after me, so that might be why I don't have the calendar. I think my calendar says beach. Sorry.
For the rest of the year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Cheryl. This is like,
That's all right.
let's see. I'm gonna look and see if I can find it here. I don't have it on my calendar yet, but if we didn't set it, then I'm supposed to send out, a doodle poll.
Yeah, I think she did send an email.
Did she?
Looks like it was on February 5th, showing July 31st and then November 6th.
Yeah, I thought
Okay,
something.
better put it on my calendar.
So is
I
it-
have now, I've learned how to do all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Yeah, sorry, I literally am just finishing court.
Oh, wow.
Let me see if I can drag y'all across the screen. Well, I'm not going to be able to, so I'm just going to move my other screen across so I can look at you. Okay, sorry to keep you waiting.
No, we got caught up on Cheryl's retirement news. So yeah,
Right.
we are live streaming, and I'm going to record because now I will be doing the minutes.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
Since of course, Carrie leaving wasn't retirement, but
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheryl's down to 3.5 months.
You're muted, Cheryl. You're muted.
We were discussing whether this was in fact my last meeting, and it looks like it is because July is the next meeting. So.
Well, I'm glad we could gather such a big crowd to
Yeah.
celebrate today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just in your building Thursday, Tuesday.
One of these days. I remember
Tuesday I was there.
talking to the judges in the child development class, right?
Right.
That was a good class.
Yes, they are a good class. And we had some great discussion. And anytime I get to share a space with Renee Little from Mecklenburg, it's just a true joy. So I had a wonderful time.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
All right. So, Stephanie, I don't think we've got a quorum today. Right. So I'm not sure we can approve minutes, but we can certainly do everything else.
Okay.
All the not having a quorum means we just can't vote on anything, but hopefully some other people will join. Although since it's already 12:08, I'm guessing I'm the last to come on board. So let's just go ahead, Stephanie, and start with your updates.
Yeah, I guess my biggest update is, that I'm just right now by myself here for the foreseeable future. So trying to find things that I can cut or streamline, so that I can make it. And we have a spring training coming up that's remote. And I've already talked with my supervisor that I think the fall one will also have to be remote, since we also lost our admin about 5 months ago, and there'll be no replacement of her. So we'll probably do the fall training remotely, as far as I can tell. What other updates? Mostly it's that, it's a post-adoption contact all day long, and trying to sort out things and take notes on what we would like to see maybe clarified or tweaked in the legislation during some next legislative session because there's a lot of gray. And yeah, I'd love to get y'all's advice at some point on some of those things, or if you have ideas. I think right now the biggest hurdle is mostly finding people, contacting people. The onus is supposed to be on the parties to reach out to me, since it's a voluntary program and it says on number 6 on the referral form. But what I'm finding in some districts is the parties they haven't even been served with that referral form. So it's the DSS and GL who are calling me, wondering what's going on with the cases. Meanwhile, I haven't gotten the referral form, so neither have the parties. So we're just trying to figure out where things are and how to make it less time consuming. Once we actually get to mediation, it's been extremely helpful and I think successful in terms of at least people are communicating well, reaching drafts, and I am assuming signing drafts. There's yeah, so it's trying to figure out some of the other things. And I have this, I guess this is the right forum to ask. I don't know that I'll ever be able to get this from the legislature, but there's right now a sudden influx of cases where a parent's been incarcerated. And so to try to find that parent or whatever, it's difficult, it's challenging. And typically for those who are going to be incarcerated a while, there's only going to be indirect one-way contact that's going to be set up in post-adoption contact in mediation anyway. I haven't been able to mediate any of the cases with an incarcerated parent, except for somebody who's about to be incarcerated. So my dream would be that if all those parties are in agreement about one-way indirect contact, there's not really a whole lot to mediate. And maybe what if there was a law? What if there was a law that said that the parent attorney and the foster parent could come to an agreement on what that one-way indirect contact would look like, and if they could then draft that and submit it for review rather than going through mediation. That's one of the things I have on. I don't think that's going to happen right away, but I think that it could move in that direction, because that would be a huge, I don't really think the parties need mediation, is what I'm trying to say. And if things are moving more towards some kind of open adoption, that seems like an easier one for people to handle. I'd love to hear any thoughts on that, because it's extremely time consuming for the program. I don't know. Yeah, I got stuck with about 6 or 7 of them where I couldn't make any headway. I couldn't get people to call me back. I couldn't get the facility to call me back or whatever. It's just really, really difficult. So I'm trying to find some other avenue for them. And I have, I'm going to be doing a training for IDS, a second training for IDS in a month or so. And so I'm going to try to really remind the parent attorneys that if they can get me the contact information at the prison, like if they could supply that, if they can, some of them are really trying. It's just in some districts, it's really, really hard. Or just when you think you have contact, the party gets transferred out of state to a different facility. So I think there's a need. I'm not sure that mediation is the best place for it.
Yeah, so Stephanie, we have varying success with contact particularly with local jails, but even with prisons. You know, because we try to have parents join via WebEx, and if they'll put them on WebEx with you, then you can mediate. They've all got the capability of doing it, and some facilities just refuse to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense to me that, you know, a prison unit, for example, would want to take 2 guards and put them in a car with an inmate for an entire day, drive them halfway across the state, instead of having a non-guard employee at the prison escort them down the hall to an office and put them on a computer.
Right.
But they won't do it. I'd love to find a way to make it simpler for incarcerated parents, particularly those, to your point, that are going to be in for a while, where it's not, you know, they're not going to be able to visit. They're not going to be able to do anything. It's just going to be sending pictures or whatever it may be. I'd love to see something happen.
Yeah.
Don't know whether it will or not. I think
Yeah.
our bigger issue is we've got this additional workload, and now we're at half staff. How do we manage that? Before we try to look for ways to get you any busier, does that make sense?
It does. I will say I have a few mediators who are ready now to take cases on their own, and a few more lined up. So, I mean, it's just a matter of getting the mediators trained, and part of that training involves observation and then co-mediation. So I'm happy about that. And I have several referrals now that don't involve incarcerated parents. So I think I can get more mediators trained. But actually, you know, New Hanover is the one facility, prison there, or the detention facility, is the one that I've had success with, who are willing to set up WebEx. The other ones, it's just hard to get a call back, or as soon as you do, oh, they're not on my caseload. You have to look at this database to figure out whose caseload they're on. It's just endless. So,
So one suggestion I have there is to urge your mediators in those districts, even though they're not necessarily doing this particular mediation, urge them to talk to the chief there.
okay.
And maybe ask the chief for help in getting the jail to assist. The Sheriff's Association has urged local jails to participate in remote connections, whether for first appearances or court appearances, and this is a court-related appearance.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our jail cooperates because of the relationship we've built over time, and they would much rather have an inmate sitting at a table in the jail as opposed to putting them in a van and bringing them here and moving them around our building and then taking them back. And so I think that's a valuable lesson for other people to learn too, that it really is easier, it really is safer, and it's more fair to the inmate.
Yeah.
I mean, these folks are parents.
Right.
So
Yeah. And
that's a suggestion I have.
And that detention facility, y'all have built a great relationship, because they were like, we'll bring them lunch, because I was worried that it was at lunchtime, and I decided I don't want this person to miss a meal. And they're like, no, we'll bring them their lunch if you don't mind them eating. I was like, oh, that's great. But then the parties were released at the day of mediation.
Right,
And
right. I remember.
then we couldn't find them. But otherwise, so I was thinking that I got spoiled, and I thought all the facilities would be that easy to reach, and no, not at all. So I love that suggestion. I do think that, as our legal team has said here, you know, you just have to find out what the judge wants in certain cases, you know, when I'm stuck with something. So, I have a little bit of hope that we can start moving things forward. And again, there's just a lot of gray area with the law, and trying to figure out, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not even sure like what can be done, but I'm taking notes, making a wish list.
Okay. All right. Other updates from you, Stephanie?
I don't think so. I'm sure
All
I'll
right.
miss something.
Anybody have questions for Stephanie on her updates? Other than how is she going to make it without Carrie?
Yeah. It's gonna, well, you know, I did let my supervisor know that if we, because one of the things we really started doing once I took this position was we train mediators here ourselves, because before we would, when I was being trained, you have to wait for there to be a 40-hour training out there, and then you get sent. I got sent to South Carolina, so that there's the cost of travel, hotel, everything, and the tuition. And since I trained mediators before, like we just started doing that in-house. But that's going to be tough to do on my own, because it actually takes longer than 40 hours because you're helping them out in the field and co-mediating with them, etc. So I'm not sure. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have that arise. But sometimes we have, 4 or 5 in a year.
Right.
People leave and new mediators come on board. But we'll just see. It's going to be just a week at a time.
Okay.
When Carrie first started, she was in our district, so we go way back, and I know you will miss her indeed, Steph.
Yeah.
So if there's anything I can do to help in any way, I'll be glad to.
Thank you. Well, I have some prisons you could call.
So I had hoped to be in Raleigh yesterday for a meeting that Secretary Dismukes was going to be at, and I was going to talk to her about, not specifically about mediation, but about access, video access with inmates, because it does vary across the system. And when Secretary Buffalo was in that role, he made sure that every prison had the technology to be able to participate. So we know that the technology is available. It's just the willpower.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to follow up with Secretary Dismukes at some point. I wasn't able to go to Raleigh yesterday, but it's still my plan to follow up with her to see if we can get more consistent access across the system.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank
anyway, all right. So Stephanie, I don't remember if we've got holdovers to the modifications to the uniform rules that we need to talk about today. We certainly can't take any action today.
Right. No, they've been approved by leadership here and they're published and on the website. I believe so. Yeah. So
Okay.
there were just some track changes that were going back and forth between the deputy director and my office and legal for a while, just some kind of grammatical and small changes. And it's a blur now, but everything got finalized and it's on the website.
All right. What about the no prior actions language?
No, that was something that we were going to talk about today. That was for the order approving, right? That wasn't for the uniform rules. I think we were going to talk about that with Judge Walzik.
Yep. And I bet she's in court.
Yeah.
Did anybody talk about that in between meetings? I saw on the agenda it said committee, and I remember who was on that committee.
Yeah, I don't remember who's on that.
I looked back over the minutes and didn't see appointment of any committee. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me on the committee, but I didn't see anything about that. But when I was looking at that language, I just wondered, and maybe if you contact Judge Walzik or I can contact her and ask her, but I wonder if it would be, if it would accomplish her purpose just to say the parties, agree that there are no other pending actions. With that, because I think the problem was prior pending there might be some confusion if it was a modification situation. Is that right? And if we just said no other actions, that should be pretty clear to parties, right? We're just the point is she wants to make sure that they are telling the mediator of the court very clearly that there aren't any other actions pending about this particular child or these children, which were supposed to already have done, right, in the affidavit that they file or with their initial pleading. But I could see why she would want that to be reaffirmed at the time that she's signing the parenting agreement. But anyway, when I looked at it this morning, I just thought, well, I think if we just said no other pending actions, that might be more or less confusing. 'Cause I would think that they would know then, okay, that, no, there aren't any other, but if you say prior, then it may get confusing about modification and stuff.
Yeah, I would think, I mean, I think people have a hard time understanding what, I just think that people are gonna have a hard time understanding what that means.
Okay,
Um, here from the minutes, it said, Judge Walsick was not able to join the meeting, but had emailed a suggestion to add the following language to all versions of the order approving parenting agreement. By signing this agreement, the parties are representing to the court that there are no prior pending actions involving the custody of this child or children.
that there's no, you faded out right when you got to
I'm
this
sorry, that
word,
there
so-
are no prior pending actions involving the custody of this child or children.
Right. I think we did talk last time that it really wouldn't be helpful to have that in the order approving the agreement, right? Because the parties
Yeah.
don't see that. It would need to be somewhere else, but instead of no prior pendings, would it clarify to say no other pending? Would that, or you think that would still be confusing to people?
Hmm. So yeah, the minutes go on to say that the language is important. Some version of it may be better added to the draft parenting agreement.
Right, right, as opposed to it's not gonna do any good if it's in the order, right? Because they're not gonna see that, so. It may,
Um,
but it's probably a good idea to wait till we have Judge Walsick, just to make sure that we know exactly what her concerns are, because, the other thought I had is that they are supposed to have already signed an affidavit saying that, right? It's the affidavit as to the status of the minor children, and that's one of the statements that's on that affidavit. So, and I know sometimes with modification motions, I don't know that those are always filed with the modification motions as they are with the initial custody complaints, but they're supposed to be. So they're supposed to have already made that, but evidently something's going on with Judge Walsick where that's not always happening. So maybe you just need to have a little bit more information about that before you decide what to do.
So Stephanie, why don't you just reach out to Judge Walsick and let her know that, first of all, we missed her today.
mhm.
Uh, but that we'll add this back to the agenda the next time if she'd like to bring her thoughts.
Okay. I was just wondering if it would help for parents to add the word no pending legal actions. Just
I
because,
think,
Oh, that's the word. I thought it was the prior that was the confusing, but you're thinking that the actions, yeah, and maybe changing it being even more clear is that there are no other custody cases in the courts anywhere in the country or something like that,
Yeah.
just, yeah, right, rather than using what we all, don't always recognize as the legalese stuff. Yeah.
yeah, make it crystal clear, because I could see somebody saying, well, I've been talking to my social worker, when we try to ask them if there's a DSS investigation, there's all kinds of ideas about what that means.
Now what that means. Yeah.
Yeah. So people say yes when really it's no, or vice versa. So, yeah.
well,
Yeah, I think,
let's invite her to bring that back up with us at our next meeting. And we definitely don't want to add confusion. If
No.
we can add clarity, that's great, but we don't want to add confusion.
yeah.
Right.
All right. If Polly's going to join us, Stephanie.
No, nobody else is here to give an update. They're all busy doing things. So,
Okay, so I can update everybody on Safe Babies Court. The gradual expansion continues. McDowell and Rutherford are up and running now. So we're active in New Hanover, Brunswick, Durham, Yancey, Mitchell, Watauga, Avery, and McDowell, Rutherford. I was in training with one of the Durham judges, Kendra Montgomery Glenn, who is doing Safe Babies Court in Durham, and she's over the moon about it. Everybody who's doing it loves it, and the results are fabulous is a word that I'll use. Both the experience and the results are fabulous. Duke Endowment, who is funding several of the projects, did a video that we may be able to get AOC to put up on website talking about Safe Babies Court. It featured our first graduate and her little boy, who almost crawled and almost walked for the first time in our status conferences right in front of everybody. The experience for the court partners, but also for the families, has been really significant. So we're looking forward to finding a way for ongoing funding. That's sort of what Polly's working on now, because we're not, AOC is moving away from grants and, wants more sustainable funding. We're looking to be part of the Smart Start portfolio, hopefully, but we'll see over time how that goes. Sort of last resort, we would look to counties to pick it up, but we know how that's worked with drug courts. It's become a labor to try to get counties to do it when the state won't do it, and I'm concerned about that with Safe Babies Court. Even as spectacular as it is, counties feel like that's once again an unfunded mandate from the state, and just so we'll see. But my whole team loves doing it, and I think in New Hanover, we've got a waiting list for the first time since we started. I think we're up to 20, maybe 19 families and 26 or 27 kids. We do status conferences basically every other Monday, and it's wonderful. And that's what I know to say on Polly's behalf. I know that state participants, some of our folks are going to be going to, I think, Nashville, Tennessee in August for a big national conference with National 0 to 3 organization. It's called All Sites, and great training opportunity for lots of the team members from all of the sites will be able to go. And I don't know anything to update from Damaka.
No, yeah, I don't think things are pretty much the same. I just know she's very busy because she's also doing some other program here.
Right. Anybody else have any updates they want to share?
Rick, you want to talk
Anyone
about
else?
that book?
I was waiting for you, Stephanie. I don't want to add to your workload, but I've been working with Stephanie now. I think we're coming up on 2 years, maybe, for revising the Green Book, Alternative Dispute Resolution in North Carolina. If you've never seen it, it's this book here. It's the 3rd edition. There are 2 chapters that involve us. There's the Custody and Visitation Program chapter and the Permanency Mediation chapter. Stephanie and I have been back and forth on it, and without specifics, I think we both feel like the history is okay, but the procedures part of the chapters needs to be updated. And the easiest way to do that would be to decide what kind of history can stay and then refer to the websites at the AOC with the rules. Is that fair to say, Stephanie? Is kind of where we are
Yeah.
with it? Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a long story why it's taken so long, but we have an editor who's working very hard on it. Would like to have a final conclusion about those chapters. And that's what I just had sent an email to Stephanie, and I copied you, Judge Corpney. I'm not sure you got it, but I'm not sure it's something for the committee, but since I'm talking, it's kind of before the committee at the moment. So I don't know if somebody can give us a hand on it, looking over the chapters, or maybe ask you, Stephanie, what with your workload right now,
Yeah.
is it possible to get something done, say within the next, by the end of the month, the next 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember, like, I'm just going to be reviewing the history, make sure it's accurate, and then everything else will be, uniform rules. There'll be links to all of that, which is good with me.
if you could do that and just let me know where we would stop in the current chapters, cut the rest of it and put in that reference to the websites, I think that would be great. I think that'll work.
Rick, I'll be glad to look at it. I've been out of the office since Monday, basically. But I'm happy to take a look at it. And Cheryl and I are almost part of the history.
Yes. Yes. Well, and to add to this, there's a plan somewhere down the road to make this like a wiki, make it an online document that's easy to edit from the inside, so we don't have to do this every 3 to 6 years. In which case, if something does need to be updated, if we do make that step, it'd be very easy to update. It's very clunky now because it's all in Word format, and then it has to go in and be revised, and then it's actually going to the printer. So whatever happens now, if it needed to be tweaked later, there's a good chance when funding is found in the next year or two, it would be very easy to just submit something and somebody could adjust it online.
I thought you were going to say, there's some talk about it being turned into a movie.
I've not heard that yet, but
Yeah,
I
then maybe we
did.
could get an Oscar to go with our telly.
Right?
Yeah, perfect. No, I did hear a I was at the Dispute Resolution Commission meeting last Friday, and Frank Laney, who's one of the authors, was talking about visiting, and I think Belarus, he said, several years ago, and talking to a chief judge there who had actually gotten a copy of the book and said it was the best reference for alternative dispute resolution he'd ever seen. So it's got at least a few fans around the world. So I think it's nice for us to be sure we're well represented in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, he brought a contingent of people to the AOC years ago, and we met with them. Judge Smith at the time was the director, and we all sat down and met with them.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just it. And we're all busy. I understand. I think this is going to take one last push, and it can be done. So if the two of you can take a look at it and help me out, thanks very much. And I'll just stay. I won't put the editor on either view. I'll be the middle person. And if I get your approval to finalize it, I'll pass that on, and we'll be good for the next edition.
Great.
Great.
Great. Anybody else? Gosh, Cheryl, I can't believe this is your last Mediation Advisory Committee meeting.
We're happy to come to the beach next time and meet there.
Okay. Yeah, come on down. We'll talk about mediation anytime you want to. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe too. Lots of things to say goodbye to, but this is is one of the harder ones. Yeah, it's been a real honor to work with you all on this, and it's been amazing to see. From when I started, when there was still a tremendous reluctance to any sort of to where we are now. So
Yeah.
it's been amazing to see.
Well, thank you for your
committee.
thank you for your support, your sage advice.
I still have emails that I've saved of yours, like for when people ask me, why can't we use the word custody in the agreement? I'm like, okay, let's see what Cheryl said again.
Well, it's been great, but I have no doubt that you will carry on just fine without me and continue to do fantastic work. So
I think you could always be like our person in the field, the person, you could always participate that way if you miss it.
Yeah, I could be the community member or something. I may have to do that because people tell me I'm really gonna miss a lot of this work, and I probably will. So.
Well, I'll send you the link.
Okay, you can send me the link, and I'll be watching you all in these meetings.
Okay.
All right.
Cheryl, when our last judge came on the bench over a year ago, I think now, she was nervous and had the anxiety of making the wrong decision, of making the right decision. And I said, don't worry, you've got Cheryl Howell. So just know that we have appreciated everything you've done, and I wish nothing but the best for you. And I will gladly accept any invitation to the beach. So you let us know.
All right. Thank you very much. You all are very kind.
I mean, now you're available to like be a trainer that I could hire to come and talk to me.
I don't know. All kinds of things to think about.
Okay, okay, like that idea. Wow.
Maybe when I'm not at the beach. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you need a little bit of recovery time.
Yeah, a little bit. All right.
Well, thank you again, Cheryl. And I'll be there. I'll be in your house up there next Wednesday, I think, for New
Yep.
Judges School. Maybe we'll bump into each other.
Yep, I will. I'm looking forward to seeing you then.
All right. Thanks
Mhm.
everybody for joining. I'm sorry again I kept you waiting. I was trying to move criminal court as quickly as I could, and it just wasn't moving. So anyway, thanks for joining today. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheryl, hope to see you next week.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.